And now we're going to ride by subway up to another spectacular spot in Paris, up to Montmartre. We emerge from the metro through this beautiful glass and steel awning designed in the Art Nouveau style by Guimard back in the turn of the century. It's one of the very few original awnings that are still in place. You can walk up the hill of Montmartre. There's a staircase, and that's free, but it's quite a climb. Instead, you might just take the funicular. It's only the price of a metro ticket, about $1, and that'll get you right to the top. And if you feel adventurous and energetic at the end of the night, you can walk down the staircase. It might be a little easier that way. Arriving at the top, we walk a short block around the corner to one of the most pretty picture postcard squares in the city. A little stroll around Place du Tertre, this great artistic square in the middle of Montmartre. It's a nice time to be here, right at twilight. Now, for those of us who are going on the dinner cruise, we need to meet right here at 7:15. As we leave Montmartre, Sacré-Cœur is the great church towering over the city on the hill of Montmartre. There's so many great things to do and places to see in this city. You can never run out of excitement in Paris. There's a lot of boat traffic on the River Seine at night. There's some houseboats. There's barges where people live on board. And there's other bateaux mouches. And it's really an amazingly elegant dining room that floats down the middle of the river on these illuminated tours. This famous and beautiful Baroque palace, which was built in 1688, houses the Institute of France. Just in front of it is the Pont des Arts, which we're seeing from a unique viewpoint. Going underneath it, it's a pedestrian bridge. The Institute of France holds the French Academy, which controls the French language and writes the dictionary and approves new words and rejects a lot of English words. The tip of the Île de la Cité has to be one of the most romantic spots on the planet. It's connected to the left bank of the city by the Pont Neuf, whose name means New Bridge, even though it's very old, for it was built in 1589, making it the oldest bridge in the city. The glaring bright spotlights of our bateaux mouches shine on everything that we pass along the banks of the River Seine, lighting up these old apartment buildings that line the left bank. Nice place if you're an artist to live or a wealthy industrialist probably to afford the rent in such a beautiful townhouse. Save room for dessert and cheese on this river cruise because the whole evening takes almost 2 hours long, which you can leisurely enjoy the sights going by. At this point, we're passing Notre Dame Cathedral and some more lovers. And now let's have a look at the same stretch of the river in the daytime. Here's a bridge leading to the Louvre Museum, and you see the quays along the banks of the River Seine. It's a wonderful promenade on both sides of the river for pedestrians, and you can take the bateau mouche during the daytime as well. It's actually a little bit cheaper in the daytime. Seats here go for about $6 typically for a 1 hour and 15-minute ride in the daytime. You can catch the bateau mouche down by the Eiffel Tower at the Pont de l'Alma, and there's another boat company that leaves from the Île de la Cité. And the boats leave about every half hour throughout the day and into the evening. The final departure of the bateau mouche is at 11:30 at night. The first departure in the morning is at 10 o'clock. There's also a luncheon cruise that leaves at 1 o'clock, and that'll cost you about $60. Or you can just enjoy these sights for free, as you're seeing right here, and join the crowd, standing on the bridge, enjoying the view, or walking along the banks of the river, or pull out your sketch pad maybe and make a picture of the Pont des Arts. This is the same bridge that we just went under the night before, and you can see it from many different angles. It's one of the focal points of the city. A real artistic touch here. You'll see sidewalk painters and musicians of all stripes out here in the streets of Paris. Several views of the beautiful Louvre Museum here. This was first built as a fortress back around the year 1200, and then of course greatly expanded. And the artistic collections were started about the year 1500 by Francis I. Now we have the new glass pyramid entrance. It first opened as a public museum around the year 1800, and it's been undergoing constant growth and evolution ever since. Just recently it's completed the major expansion, so it's nearly doubled in size. The Orsay Museum, just across the river on the other side. We've taken you into the Louvre Museum recently, and we'll certainly bring you in there again in the future for additional walking tours, but for now we're just passing by, walking along the banks of the River Seine, enjoying the longest outdoor bookstall collection in all of Europe. These booksellers have a real noble tradition that's gone back over 100 years in the same location, and they're hanging in there, although there's a lot of financial pressures on these bookstall owners. The taxes are going up and their costs are going up and competition's increasing. There's talk about them going away, but it's good to see they're still one of the traditions that survives in Paris today. A walk along the Rue de Rivoli will inevitably lead you to the Place des Pyramids with this gilded statue of Joan of Arc leading the charge, one of the great heroines of the country. The Rue de Rivoli runs for about 2 miles, passing the Louvre Museum and the Tuileries Gardens, and you can enjoy this delightful arcaded sidewalk with one shop after another that particularly are geared towards tourists. It's a good place to buy some perfumes. You have good selections, to buy souvenirs, to buy scarves and postcards and books and maps, jewelry. You'll find it all here under the covered arcades, as well as the cafes where you can sit back and spend some time. The architecture is very much influenced by that of the Italian Renaissance, and particularly the city of Florence with its arcaded sidewalks. The Parisians are justifiably so proud of their own architecture, they sell these miniatures that you could take home with you, and all sorts of different kinds of art props and posters and pictures and little dolls available here in the Rue de Rivoli. Also on this famous street you'll find Angelina, which claims to have the best hot chocolate in town. This tea room is always booming. You'll usually find a line out front of Angelina's all day long and into the evening. There's also a complete restaurant inside, and it'll be worth the wait if you'd like some sweets in the afternoon with your tea. Another fabled institution along this block is the Hotel Morris. This is one of the most expensive hotels in the city. It might cost you about $400 or $500 a night for a room in the Hotel Morris. It's very, very elegant, as you can see, and there's a restaurant that is one of the top restaurants in the city, and of course you don't have to be a guest at the hotel to walk through the lobby and have a look or have a meal at their restaurant. You'd be most welcome. Around the corner you'll find the Place Vendôme with the Vendôme column. You'll find the Luxembourg Gardens. Enjoy this formal French landscaping. Beautiful potted flowers and numerous statues, obelisks, and in the center the octagonal basin. It's a real focal point of the Luxembourg neighborhood. It's one of the most popular parks in the city. On a nice day, you'll see hundreds of people out here, the small boys with their sailboats and girls bouncing balls around and people sunbathing and relaxing. And in the midst of it all is the fabulous Luxembourg Palace. Got to grab some pictures with that background. What a photo op. This was built in the early 1600s for Marie de Medici, who married King Henry IV. She was an Italian and wanted to construct a home in the Italian style. Tai Chi is a very popular activity in the parks of Paris, especially when you have such a lovely setting for it as this gazebo surrounded by the different trees and statues and flowers. There's also a tea room right in the middle of the gardens, which makes a very convenient rest stop for us. You can have hot chocolate or coffee, tea, pastries, light sandwiches and snacks here. We'll take just a quick look at the Eiffel Tower this time, and then we're going to move on because we're going to take you shopping. Some of the famous department stores and fancy boutiques of the city. The Eiffel Tower, 100 years old, stood as the world's tallest building until the 1930s when the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building were constructed in New York. So it reigned supreme, and it still reigns today. Now the bus tour effectively ends at the tower, so for those who want to go up in the tower on their own time, they're most welcome to do that. And the rest of us are going to go shopping into the center of the city to the Place de l'Opéra. You see here the Paris Opera House, one of the largest in the world. And for several blocks in every direction around the opera, you'll find the biggest collection of shops in the city. There's hundreds of boutiques, and there are several very large department stores that we're going to take you in right now, the largest of which is Galeries Lafayette. The interior is a National Historic Landmark. It's about 100 years old, and you can see why they call it Galeries, with these little balconies overlooking the main rotunda. And towering over it all is a beautiful stained glass dome. You might find it a little easier to shop in the large department stores than in the smaller boutiques, because here they've got everything under one roof, ranging from Persian carpets to Oriental ceramics to furniture, and of course lots of clothing. Galeries Lafayette occupies 2 blocks, 2 separate buildings, one devoted more to men's clothing, the other more to ladies' clothing. And there's a bridge that combines them, or you just cross the street from one building to the next. And you'll find a lot of the sales clerks in the large stores do speak some English. So it's a lot easier than the smaller boutiques, where often you'll run into just a sales clerk who only speak French to you. Quick look through the Galeries Lafayette, and then we're out the door back onto the busy streets of the city. Out in front of the department store, there's a lot going on. You can have a snack, you can get a crepe or a sandwich or a hot dog from one of the many sidewalk stands. And there's also different kinds of goods for sale right on the very sidewalk in front of the department store. This general neighborhood truly is shopper's heaven, because you've got all kinds of things to choose from. There's some bargain boutiques behind the department stores. There's some very fancy and expensive boutiques in front of the department stores. And there's sporting goods shops, there's shoe stores, postcard racks, and you'll find a lot of restaurants nearby as well. Elsewhere in the city, you'll find neighborhoods devoted to such things as antiques and stamp shops. There's several important flea markets. The other big department store here is Printemps, which is just next to Galeries Lafayette. They have a restaurant up on the roof. Another possible advantage of shopping in the department store rather than the smaller boutiques is the tax refund that you might become eligible for. If you spend about $200 in one store, they generally give you a form where you can get a refund on the sales tax, which is an 18% reduction for you. And it's obviously easier to spend $200 in a department store than in one of the smaller boutiques. Although if you'd like to catch up on the latest fashions, you can very easily drop $200 or $300 in any one of these stores. But you don't have to spend any money here to enjoy yourself. You can just enjoy the people watching. There's an endless stream of characters out here on the sidewalks of Paris. You can do some window shopping and buy some omiyage for friends at home. Of course, inevitably, we find in our tours that shopping is one of the favorite activities, so we always make lots of free time in each city available and point people in the direction of the main shopping neighborhoods and set them loose for the afternoon. And if you're not a shopper, we'll help suggest some other kinds of activities. You might want to go look at some of the smaller museums in the city, or take a trip outside of town. You can go out to Versailles or out to the Loire Valley and look at the beautiful palaces out there. There's never an ending of things to do in the city, and food is always high on everybody's favorite list of activities. One of the best food stores in the world is found in Place de la Madeleine, and it's called Fauchon. They have fresh fruits, as you'll see, one of the most beautiful displays of fresh fruits that you've ever seen. And there's packaged goods, there's canned goods and dry goods, there's wines, there's a restaurant and a cafe. Admire this display of grapes and berries. Only the most perfect berries find their ways onto the counter at Fauchon. And there's salads, there's sausages, there's takeout picnic foods. It makes a good place to go shopping to bring some canned goods or dry goods or chocolate goods home, because it has that name Fauchon on nearly every label in the store, so you know you're getting some high quality along with the status and prestige of the gift. You'll also find a variety of outdoor food markets scattered through the city, open nearly every day, such as on Rue Claire and Rue de Rivoli and Rue Mouffetard, which we've shown you in previous episodes of World Traveler. Walking back towards the hotel, we run into some of our folks having dinner at the Royal Madeleine on Rue Richipons. This is a nice, typical Parisian bistro. A meal here might cost you about $30
okay, that's good. Yes,
for a
sure.
full course meal with cheeses at the end and fruits, half a bottle of wine maybe to wash it down. And then the next morning we find it's time to leave Paris already.
So did you all enjoy yourself in Paris?
Paris is always good. Paris is at its best.
It was good.
We all enjoyed it.
You enjoyed Versailles, didn't
Oh, it was beautiful. Beautiful place. The fountains, the walk, the gardens, the building. It's beautiful, historical. And I finally saw where all the treaties have been signed and that area. Really nice.
And the palace interior,
Palace interior. Oh,
nicely decorated.
very beautiful. Paintings in there is something else.
It's hard to beat Versailles, I tell you.
Very hard to beat. Yeah, Paris is a beautiful place too.
Really.
Paris is the most beautiful city in the world, really. Compared to all the cities we've visited so far.
Venice was my favorite before, but I think Paris is now.
Oh, every city becomes a favorite.
No, and after London, London probably will be.
That might be true. It used to be my favorite, now I've given up on favorites.
Really, it's hard, yeah. They all have something so different and so unique. You know, I think that's what's so fascinating about it. You can enjoy something totally different in each city, even the people.
Big bite. Oniony?
That was Hugo Buring enjoying his snack. Hugo also did some of the camera work for this program, and he did some of the tour conducting as well. So thanks to Hugo.